Since the 1960s, British policy regarding same-sex relationships has shifted dramatically. Until as recently as 1967, sexual intercourse between two men was illegal. Following its legalisation, the age of consent for same-sex partners was lowered in 2001 to match that of opposite-sex partners, and in July 2013, same-sex marriage became legal in England and Wales. National survey data from 1990 to 2010 is used to show how public attitudes towards same-sex relationships have changed in Britain. In 1990, 60% of the UK public aged between 16 and 44 believed same-sex relationships between two men were always or mostly wrong. By 2000 it had dropped to 38% and to 27% by 2010. Intriguingly, the number of people who view female homosexuality as wrong is consistently lower, 58% in 1990 compared to 33% in 2000 and 23% in 2010. Between 1990 and 2000, the percentage of people who viewed same-sex relationships as always wrong fell by about a quarter. It fell a further 10% between 2000 and 2010. Around twice the proportion of men than women see male same-sex relationships as always wrong, but they are only slightly more likely than women to view female same-sex relationships as always wrong. If you look at ethnicity, South Asian or black 16 to 44-year-olds are much more likely to regard male or female same-sex relationships as always wrong, compared to white respondents in this age bracket. In 1990, this gap was much smaller. So what effect does religiosity have? Over 60% of people who attend religious services at least once a week regard homosexuality as always wrong, compared to just 11% of those who define themselves as non-religious. Back in 1990, the difference in attitudes between the religious and the non-religious was much smaller.
The key findings of our paper were that attitudes towards same-sex relationships have become much more accepting. The decline in the percentage of this population that regard same-sex relationships as always wrong slowed down between 2000 and 2010.
Whereas in 1990, one of the main determinants of whether somebody had a more or less liberal attitude towards homosexuality was their education. By 2010, the main determinant was religion. Even in the more religious groups, the attitudes have become more liberal, reflecting that wider change in societal views. And we see a big interplay here between what's going on in terms of social policy and what's going on in terms of individual attitudes.
Evidence suggests that around 10% of people who identify as lesbian or gay still experience homophobia in the workplace. So regardless of the fact that we've had these huge policy shifts, the fact that we've found that around a fifth of the young adult population still regard same-sex relationships as always wrong is evidence that this is still an issue that needs to be tackled.